The Bankless brothers are back again with another video on why you should be bullish on Ethereum, and I'm going to tell you exactly why you shouldn't be. I'm going to debunk most of their points in the video, in which they have on guest speaker Anthony Sassano, who actually blocked me about 2 years ago because he doesn't like to hear any negative feedback about Ethereum, but I've got plenty of it. And I'm going to show you why I don't think you should be bullish on Ethereum, and I'm even going to play a couple clips as well. Now, don't get me wrong, Ethereum is still probably going to go up in value, possibly even reach previous all-time high, but is that a really good investment? There are probably many other plays in Web3 that are far better investments, and long-term, I think Ethereum is going to struggle a lot and probably even be surpassed by other L1s, if not many L1s. And I've got plenty of content on this that I'll share later on in the video to show you why I feel this is the case. So some may ask why I continue to watch these Bankless episodes when they always have Ethereum guests on that are super bullish and basically just hyping up the protocol. And the reason why is because I want to be convinced. I honestly want to be bullish in Ethereum, but nothing I have seen gives me reason to. And I don't think it should you either if you're really paying attention to what is going on. There are far better innovations and technologies outside of Ethereum, and I don't think the Ethereum community really realizes this. So this is why I watch all their content. This is why I read Vitalik's articles and so much other stuff on Twitter and everywhere else, because I want to be bullish. Ethereum is number 2, and that may not change anytime soon, but it definitely will change. It will be dethroned by other L1s, and it will continue to lose dominance over time. And I am 100% convinced that Ethereum's future is not nearly as bright as these guys want you to think. And the thing is, these guys, Dave, Ryan, and Anthony, most likely know very little about Web3 outside of the Ethereum ecosystem. Sure, they might know a little bit about Solana and Sui and a couple others, but other than that, I bet they're very unaware of what is going on and being built and the innovation that is occurring in Web3. And I actually challenge any of them, all 3 of them, to have a talk on it and to show them what is going on and why it is going to surpass Ethereum sooner or later. Ethereum is seriously limited on its capabilities and what it can do. Another reason why I'm convinced that they're very unaware of what is going on outside of Ethereum is because of this clip. Check this out.
By the way, have you guys seen the recent like mega ETH projections in terms of transactions per second? It's just like dwarfs
gas availability.
Yeah, it's just
yeah.
It's like, isn't it like something like 10,000 transactions per second?
They're quoting 100,000, but I take these things with a grain of salt because it's always fun to quote testnet figures and internal figures, and then you go on mainnet and you're like, oh, yeah, I mean, like we're doing a bit less.
But you can kind of see, how the architecture, if you go full like TPS and you're an L2 and you just kind of centralize sequencers and you go kind of like all in the way Mega ETH is basically dialing that to max. How like it's almost impossible. It is impossible for an L1 to actually like exceed that from a transactions per second perspective.
Seriously? So it's impossible for any other layer 1 to do 10,000 or 100,000 TPS? Come on, you just proved my point right there that you know very little about what is going on outside of the Ethereum ecosystem. In fact, there are protocols that are doing upwards of 10 times that number. MultiversX just a few months ago did 74,000 TPS on a single sovereign chain in a live environment with the community pushing it. And that is per chain. They're able to add hundreds, if not thousands of chains because of their sharded architecture. And you still don't think that any L1 can manage 10,000 or 100,000 TPS? Come on, you really need to start getting with the times here and realize what else is happening outside of Ethereum. Let's dive down this sovereign chain path just a little bit more. Now, these are fully built in and composable with the MultiversX chain. They function just as any other shard on the chain does. So no worries about bridging at all. All token identifiers are the same. They all work with the same wallets, cross-chain composability, and everything works seamlessly without you knowing that there are any shards or chains involved at all. Basically, everything Ethereum wanted to be, except now all their rollups are scattered in 100 different places, not composable, spreading liquidity, and not very user-friendly because people have to bridge back and forth between them, and they're all centralized as well. They could all steal users' funds at any given time. I've got a full video on sovereign chains too that I'll link down below that you can check out and see why this is definitely the next generation of blockchain technology. So yes, Ryan here is getting really excited about the thought of a L2 that can do 10,000 TPS. Mega ETH. Well, if you check this out, this thing is the most centralized beast in all of crypto. A protocol that has a sequencer that requires, I believe, 100 cores and 1 terabyte of RAM. This is a monster, something you could only find in high-end data centers. And this is what they're going to be running Mega ETH with. And they're excited that it's going to be able to possibly hit 10,000 TPS, maybe even upwards of 100,000 TPS. Now, another argument that they make is something that actually came up in permissionless when Dave was up on the panel. It was around a quote that said that Ethereum is living in the future of all these other L1s. And they say this because they believe that all these L1s are going to run into the same issues that Ethereum is running into now, which I can get to an extent. But again, they're also completely not taking into account the fact that all these L1s are learning from Ethereum now, and they're fixing things. They're building a stronger foundation, a foundation that can far exceed anything Ethereum can do, including with these L2s combined. So this idea that Ethereum is living in the future and all these other L1s are going to go through all these problems that Ethereum's going through now is completely nonsense, because they're building stronger foundations to combat this and get ahead of it now. Perfect example. Yes, I'm going to shill a protocol right now. MultiversX. It is fully sharded, and it has been for 4 years. It is exactly what Ethereum 2.0 planned on being, with additional enhancements. So the Ethereum 2.0 roadmap that was ditched because Vitalik and the community couldn't figure out composability and how to make things work, and they ditched it to go with this other route, well, it's been solved. It's been implemented, and we have blockchains that are far more capable than anything Ethereum can accomplish. But it's not a top 10 or a top 20, so it doesn't matter to them, because all that matters is price, of course, right? Well, they're in for a rude awakening, because these protocols will end up eating Ethereum sooner or later when people realize that Ethereum is going to continue to hit bottlenecks, even with hundreds of L2s, thousands of L2s. You don't think Ethereum's still going to be a bottleneck? Of course it is. We're actually even seeing that today. Now, of course, they also jumped into the whole topic of our L2's parasitic to Ethereum. And this is one I've covered in videos and articles as well. So I'll go ahead and play a little bit of this.
What do you say to this idea that L2s are parasites?
The main reason this kind of narrative and similar narratives exist is because it's a really easy kind of bike shedding point that people can throw into like the Twitter sphere, the social sphere, and get people just like constantly debating it, because it sounds like fun on the surface. Hey, L2s are parasites because they're taking users from L1, and hey, they're not paying much fees to the L1 yet, and go discuss this until you guys run out of breath, sort of thing. So I think that if you're a competitor ecosystem, the best thing you can do is basically sow confusion, right? And sow doubt in your competitor and get them talking about it, especially when it comes to discussing this online, especially on Twitter, in a very adversarial environment there. But I think that the whole premise is just completely flawed from the beginning, even for people who may believe it. Like, let's discard the people who are just saying it to fight Ethereum and they don't actually believe it. They just want to sow confusion. But let's look at the people who actually believe this. The whole premise is flawed, because it's essentially saying that if Ethereum didn't have L2s, then Ethereum will be doing fine. Like, that's what you're saying.
So are you really going to try and make the argument that L2s are not parasitic just because Ethereum needs them? Come on, is that really a logical argument? Just because Ethereum wouldn't be fine without them doesn't mean they're not parasitic. They certainly are. The thing is, what these guys aren't taking into account is the L2s constantly adapting and getting better. So yes, these L2s are parasitic to Ethereum. Bread has a great thread here on it, on exactly why that is the case, and we've seen it happen numerous times. Yes, they like to say that blob fees are going up and more money is going back into Ethereum. This has happened before. And then the L2s adjust, and then the fees go back down, and Ethereum becomes inflationary again. This is going to be a repetitive cycle, because you have all these pieces, these L2s and Ethereum, the data availability layers and everything else, that are working for their own benefit. So of course, they're going to work to reduce fees, lower fees, avoid fees altogether if they can. And that's exactly what has been happening, and that's what's going to continue to happen. And Bread shows that perfectly in his graphs here, but they won't acknowledge this. And now another argument they have is about the L2s and how they have escape hatches if they're utilizing Ethereum. And this one is just nuts in my opinion. Let me go ahead and play a little clip of it.
As I said, I strongly believe ETH needs to be money. L2s are a really, really good way of promoting ETH as money. They've been doing it for years now. And some people may argue, well, you can use ETH on other chains. Basically, you can use ETH on the other L1s. Doesn't that scale ETH as money as well? And I would say that a little bit, but the ETH on the L1s is, I mean, even on the L2s, it's an IOU. It's not like complete and real ETH, because ETH is issued on the Ethereum L1. And if you want like complete settlement guarantees and assurances for your ETH, it's on the L1. But on the L2s, when they get to stage 2 decentralization, they have like an escape hatch. They're basically tightly coupled with the Ethereum L1. And you have this way back in case something something happens to the L2. You have this way back home. But with the other L1s, you don't really have that. And also the other L1s are not incentivized at all to push ETH as the asset. They're incentivized to push their own native asset as the money of their ecosystem.
So funny thing is, we just experienced this last week with DYDX basically shutting down, and people have to then go through Ethereum to get their funds out. And let me tell you, this is a UX nightmare. Even though some people have tried to improve the experience and make it more simple for users, it's still a nightmare. And this is exactly why this is not going to be acceptable in the future. There's no way mass adoption is going to accept something like this. And this is going to happen many, many times over. Now, this next part gets me more than anything else. Let's go ahead and listen and I'll tell you why.
Ethereum's over-provisioned with respect to like its security, okay? And like other chains have kind of enough security. It's almost the idea of like economic security is a meme. I won't go so far as that, but the basic idea that Ethereum is like, you know, 4 nines, 5 nines with respect to its security. And all you really need for a global permissionless financial system is like 99.9% security and like uptime or whatever else, right? And so the idea that it's over-provisioned, we're not actually practically, Anthony, going to be like up against kind of nation state attack. And like if we are anyway, neither Bitcoin or Ethereum or any blockchain existence can actually withstand that. So like Solana or some alternative layer 1 security models is enough. And all this solo staker stuff, all of this max decentralization stuff, that's like way overkill for what we actually need.
And this is the part that just absolutely kills me. If these Ethereum maxis 4 years ago could hear themselves today talking about sufficient security or decentralized enough, the main thing Ethereum always stood for was decentralization and being the most decentralized blockchain in all of Web3. Now you guys are all moving to this, well, it's sufficiently decentralized or it's good enough. Are you kidding me? Just listen to yourself for a second. You wouldn't have even considered saying something as ignorant as that a few years ago. But now, because your protocol needs it to survive, it's okay? Yes, I'm getting a little worked up because this lack of focus on decentralization is absolutely ridiculous. It is the only thing that separates Web 2 from Web 3. And the way the space is going right now is destroying itself from the inside out and taking away the only thing that truly matters to Web 3, and that's decentralization. So this crap needs to stop. Just because your favorite network can't manage to be massively scalable and extremely decentralized at the same time doesn't mean we should completely ditch the decentralized narrative. There are chains that are able to scale far beyond Ethereum and L2s while being just as decentralized, if not more decentralized. In fact, the same chain again, MultiversX, just started running a node on a smartphone. A full node is now running on a smartphone on a blockchain that's capable of doing hundreds of thousands or millions of TPS. So pretty soon, this network can have tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of nodes validating the system. That is true decentralization, something Ethereum would have strived for many years ago until you all gave up on it. Now, on top of all of that, the Ethereum dominance is continuing to fall. Sure, it may pick back up at some point, but long-term, Ethereum will continue to lose dominance. The ETF had little to no impact at all. And now that we have a positive government coming into the US for crypto, we're going to have more ETFs coming out soon, and Ethereum is not going to be special much longer. On top of all of this, one of my biggest critiques is still the issue with the ERC token. It is flawed, and I have an entire video on this and plenty of content. Most of the hacks that we see in Web3 are due to the flawed structure of the ERC token and other smart contract-based tokens on EVM-compatible chains. And this is not something that can easily be changed. Go ahead and check out this video and see for yourself why this is a major issue and why native assets and asset-oriented structures are far more secure and why they are going to lead to adoption and not Ethereum and the ERC token. And this isn't just me saying this. This is some of the best and brightest in the space, such as Sam Blackshear, who created Move language, and it is 100 times better than Solidity and much more secure. Also, Robert Sasu, who is a brilliant developer that has a master's in computer engineering and was an Olympiad in math and science. The background and track record that this guy has is crazy. He is brilliant, and he's been saying this for a long time as well as many others. But the Ethereum ecosystem doesn't want to acknowledge it, but this is possibly one of the biggest flaws and not something you can ignore because it could lead to you losing everything. So make sure to give that video a watch. Another funny point I like to cover is when they talk about how Ethereum has all the traction, all the users, all the developers, maybe even escape velocity, and they think it has already hit critical level where it's going to win. This I just have to laugh at. That's honestly a joke. Do you realize that Ethereum and Solidity, the EVM, has less than 0.1% of the developers in the entire world? In the entire crypto space, there are roughly 25,000 developers, yet there are over 20 25 million developers worldwide that have yet to come into the Web3 space and enter crypto. So I just laugh at this when they say this and think that Ethereum and EVM has won, because it's just a joke. Ethereum is the blockbuster of crypto. On top of that, the EVM is losing traction to these other VMs such as Move and SVM and Space VM. Some of these VMs that are far more secure and advanced, able to do so much more for their devs, offer a better developer experience, offer better tools, and more security for users. And they've been gaining a lot of traction lately. So this is another reason why Ethereum and EVM has a limited future, and why I'm not bullish on it, and why I don't believe you should be either long term.